Hello everyone, this is Rachel live from 𝐾𝐿 Studios and you're watching The Early Trades, a show where we share with you a glimpse of the Australian share market opening trade, along with global and domestic drivers triggering market momentum. In our first segment, we'll take a look at how early morning trades panned out, taking cues from Wall Street overnight. Then we'll look at prominent newsmakers grabbing the headlines during the early trading hours, as well as movements seen in cryptocurrency, crude oil, gold and metals. Australian shares opened in the green today. That's after US stock indices hit all-time highs overnight, led by a rally in tech stocks. The benchmark index, ASX 200, opened 5.4 points higher to 7,509.9 after closing 0.2% higher at 7,504.5 points yesterday. Domestic investors will be closely tracking the earnings of some major firms such as PointsBet, Harvey Norman and IGO. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones fell 0.15%, but the S&P 500 climbed 0.45% and the Nasdaq stormed 0.9% higher. US stocks jumped as the Federal Reserve seemed in no hurry to step away from its massive stimulus. The markets were also upbeat after the Jackson Hole, Wyoming speech by Fed Chairman Jerome Powell. Tech stocks generally rose from expectations of lower interest rates. Let's now take a look at the highlights of prominent ASX stocks under the spotlight during the early trading hours. The first company on our list today is Harvey Norman. The multinational retailers reported a record profit in financial year 2021, with EBITDA climbing 78.8% to $1.18 billion and profit rising 80.2% up to $628.2 million from its Australian franchise. It declared a fully franked final dividend of 15 cents per share. Moving on, online luxury fashion company �Z𝐼 surpassed its financial year 2021 prospectus forecast, with gross revenue soaring a massive 333% to $124.5 million. The product margin was reported at 37% and active customers jumped 285%. Next up, we're taking a look at global payment solutions provider Split. Their sales climbed 94% to $172.5 million in the 6 months to the 30th of June, while gross revenue was up 79.4% to $5.5 million in the same period. Total merchants on the platform rose 167%. Moving on now, sports and racing betting company PointsBet's revenue rose 159% to $194.7 million in financial year 2021. But due to heavy spending on marketing, the company incurred a loss of $187.1 million. This increase in revenue was supported by Australian and US businesses. The company didn't declare any dividend for 2021 financial year. Moving on, banking and financial services company Westpac will complete the sale of its lender mortgage insurance business to Arch Capital at a book value which is expected to be around $350 million. The transaction also added 7 basis points to Westpac's common equity Tier 1 capital ratio. Looking at the bond yields now, US Treasury yields rebounded as the markets awaited the release of this week's August employment report. There is a possibility the report may include the announcement of the timing of the Fed's tapering announcement. The 10-year US Treasury yield was around 1.3%. Over into the currency space, the dollar index inched higher after touching a 2-week low. Crude oil prices rose but were off a 4-week high after weakening of Hurricane Ida into a Category 1 hurricane within 12 hours of arriving as a Category 4 in Louisiana in the US. Brent crude rose $73.41 a barrel. WTI climbed $69.21 a barrel. Energy stocks such as Woodside Petroleum were in the red during early trade. Santos shares are also edging lower so far today. Looking at the futures and commodity space, gold prices fell as the dollar surged from its lows. Investors are also waiting for the release of key US jobs data later in the week. Spot gold fell 0.4% to $1,808.67 per ounce. Gold futures closed 0.4% lower at $1,812.20. Leading ASX-listed gold stocks such as St Barbara are in the green during early trade. Newcrest Mining was also trading higher during opening trade this morning. That's all from me for now. This is Rachel signing off. Stay tuned with 𝐊𝐶𝐴 TV.